Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch our group's presentation. Before getting started about the importance of health communication and the implementations you can put within your community health board, I want to give you a little bit of background information. So, to start off, we are a group of public health students currently taking Health 3305 Community Health Methods. We have had the honor to work with Brian, who is the Regional Statewide Health Improvement Partnership, also known as SHIP, and Healthy Northland Coordinator. After grouping together and thinking about our goal for the semester, we have decided that the four of us are going to focus on the topic of health communication and the correlation to Healthy Northland. This presentation and demonstration is designed to educate Healthy Northland employees and collaborators on what health communication is and provide you all the insight on, and recommendations for your current and future communication efforts. Throughout the semester, we have been creating a communication plan that your community health board can follow and learn to create different ways of promoting effective communication to your target audience. Some key things that you will learn today are understanding health literacy, the importance of branding, content creating, organizational skills for your website, how to cohesively coordinate your Facebook page and newsletters, how to engage users, and finally, tying in your own communication platforms to promote effective communication. So, without further instruction, I will let my team members and I introduce ourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mariah Sabula, and I am finishing up my last semester at UMD as a public health major.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Christopher, and I am a junior at UMD studying public health.
Hello again, and I am Lauren James. I am a senior this year at UMD in the public health field.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cassie Mohawk, and I am a junior at UMD studying public health.
We encourage all of you to follow along within the presentation through our guided workbook that we have created and sent to you via email. So just a quick reminder, the workbook is designed to be completed while you watch the presentation. Make sure you download the workbook onto your laptop or computer. If you try and open it in any other way, it will hinder the interactive components of the workbook. The last 2 pages in the workbook are resources that we have used in this presentation, as well as tailored for you to update your website and other communication platforms. When on the resources page, you are able to hover over the circles with your cursor and a description should pop up. Then click on the circles and it'll bring you to the proper website where you can learn exactly what the description tells you. Furthermore, while you watch the rest of this presentation, you can type your own notes and responses in the blue highlighted areas of the interactive PDF on page 9. As a friendly reminder, we as a group will make sure to let you know when you're on the right page. So this will be easy for you to follow along. Lastly, feel free to pause or rewind the video at any point during the presentation. So let's get started.
To start off, I want to recap from last semester, fall 2020. A group of public health students from Health 3305 had a workshop with Healthy Northland members. The main focus of the workshop was addressing mission, vision, audience, and the results from a SWOT analysis, which was conducted through a survey. Last semester, public health students identified Healthy Northland's mission as promoting effective health communication through planning and implementation for public health agencies and boards through strategic analysis. The same group of public health students then identified Healthy Northland's vision as better communication, healthier communities. Our presentation this semester will assist with focusing on Healthy Northland's vision, as we will be giving suggestions for websites and other social media platforms to better communicate with Healthy Northland's audience. Speaking of audience, last semester there seemed to be some confusion with who the audience of Healthy Northland was. After speaking to Brian this semester, we have determined the primary audience for Healthy Northland is public health organizations and other professionals, as the resources can also be useful for all community members of the Northland, not just organizations and professionals. Healthy Northland's secondary audience is community members. As addressed earlier, members of Healthy Northland participated in a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis provides programs and organizations with a clear, easy to read map of internal and external factors that may help or harm a project by listing and organizing a project's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Specifically through the survey, Healthy Northland members identified their Facebook posts, email lists, and newsletters as strengths, while also addressing that the out-of-date resources and inclusivity as weaknesses. The survey also showed that more than half of the respondents felt that Healthy Northland's current communications were ineffective. We took all of these responses into account throughout our presentation to give suggestions for social media platforms to achieve effective communication.
Today, we are using the results of the SWOT analysis to build on what was covered by our peers last semester. Our presentation will cover health communication strategies and how to become more effective in this area, especially on a website. More specifically, as Lauren stated earlier, some key things you will learn today are about understanding health literacy, the importance of branding, content creating, organizational skills for a website, how to engage users, and some tips to coordinate various communication platforms to promote effective communication. By the end of this presentation, you will know the definition of health communication, 3 considerations for effective communication, the importance of branding in public health, the significance of health literacy in communication, 2 ways in which multiple communication platforms can be harmonized, and at least 1 way that the information learned today can be applied to your own work.
So, what is health communication? Let's dive in. First off, if you are following along in the workbook, you should now be on page 3. The definition of health communication is the study and use of communication strategies to inform and influence individual and community decisions that enhance health. To put it simply, health communication is the way to spread important health information to others, including community members and health professionals. Now, there are 3 very important things to consider when you think about health communication. These 3 things are your target audience, your mission, and your goals, which Cassie mentioned earlier. Communication is a big part of reaching your audience. If you are unable to communicate with your audience, they won't be able to utilize your information. This graphic represents 5 things to consider in communication to increase the quality of information that you are sharing. All 5 of these areas are used to try and change people's knowledge, attitudes, and/or behaviors. The first step is increase risk perception. This is important because it helps determine which hazards or health problems people are most concerned about. You want to know what your audience wants to know because it allows you to alter your communication to fit their needs. The second step is reinforce positive behaviors. Reinforcement can be a very powerful communication tool in the health field to encourage the use of positive health behaviors. If people are coming to your website to find information, it is good for them to feel that the information is useful and will help them in some way. The third step in the graphic is influence social norms. Our population is known highly for following social norms. No one wants to be the one outside the box. And surprisingly enough, this happens in health as well. When you communicate to your audience about health, it is crucial to hit on these social norms to create a better following. The fourth component is increased support and services. If you want to be an outlet for information, it is also good to be an outlet for support and services. While they may not receive this support directly from you, if you are providing trustworthy information, they will likely trust the resources you provide them as well. The fifth and final consideration for communication is empower individuals to change. This may be the most important one of them all. You can communicate and give advice all you want, but it is so important that you empower the individual to change and for them to make the decision for themselves. You are the resource or communication outlet for them, but at the end of the day, it is still their decision on what they decide to do with that information. Overall, health communication is very important and no simple thing to understand. That's why we're going to dive even deeper now into understanding how you can be effective with health communication. Now that we've gone over what health communication is, please take this time to pause the video to answer the question regarding how health communication can strengthen your website.
Now that we know what health communication is, we will learn how to do this effectively. First, we will talk about the importance of branding when creating materials and using communication platforms. Then, we will move into how health literacy and limited literacy skills play a role in communicating effectively with the target audience. Next, we will discuss a couple items that are key when designing a website, starting with displaying content clearly on a page and moving into organizing and simplifying a website. Our last few topics will address health communication methods that are relevant to multiple platforms, such as engaging users and tying in other communication platforms to ensure that all outlets are harmonious.
So this next topic you will be learning about is branding, what it is and why is it so important. If you are following along in the workbook, you should now be on page 4, branding. To start off, what is branding? Branding is a marketing practice in which a company creates a name, symbol, or design that is easily identifiable as belonging to that particular company. This helps to identify a product and distinguish it from other products and services. So, why is it so important? Well, first, I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I want you as listeners to think to yourselves about these issues. Have you ever landed on a website and immediately felt confused? Or, on the other end of the spectrum, was the website cluttered with contradicting information, sporadic design elements, and unnecessary functions? This user experience could have been the result of poor branding strategy or a lack of brand in the first place. So, why is branding so important? Well, when you create a brand identity, which is the visual elements of a brand, such as color, design, and logo, it distinguishes the brand in the target audience's minds. It's important because you're essentially applying your brand's values to any visual elements that will be used to promote your health board. This means that a brand identity is more than just a logo. It consists of a variety of materials. The next step is learning how to communicate your brand well. A brand consists of 4 main components that we will talk through, and the first one is your logo. Now, your community health board has a logo, and I placed a visual on the left-hand side of the screen. Having a distinct logo represents the face of the company. This is how your brand is getting noticed. It is the main component that stands out from other businesses, organizations, associations, and more. It is how a company gets recognition and becomes known to the company, other community health boards, and public health professionals. Next comes trust. Trust is vital to a company's livelihood. It will help cushion the flow of your brand's reputation, empower your audience to provide honest feedback, and give you the flexibility to take risks in the future to reach the best communication outlets your health board has to offer. Value is another really important thing that you want your brand to embody. It helps center what is important to your health board. A strong sense of brand values builds morale within your company and increases loyalty to your brand. Showing what you value does not need to be stated anywhere on the website, but rather how you show it within your communication outlets, within pictures, quotes, sayings, etc. For example, if your brand wanted to show how inclusive you are to different cultures, you would use pictures that embody that culture and the colors that incorporate it as well. Lastly, another really important part of brand development remains getting recognized. Having a brand that sticks out and is professional promotes your brand's values. This is particularly key when organizations grow or change. It helps employees build a sense of security in your value to the company, motivating you all to continue great work. So, moving forward, you may be thinking, how do I apply all of these amazing, important aspects into my brand, website, newsletter, and communication outlets? Well, I'm going to really focus on 8 main components that you need to pay really close attention to within your outlets so it can embody what you value and therefore show trust and get that recognition. The first 2 components I'm going to go over remains brand identity and consistency. As stated previously, a brand identity is made up of the visual elements of a brand, such as color, design, logo. It distinguishes the brand in the target audience's minds. Developing a brand identity allows you to create a consistent message across all marketing materials. Each piece should have the same basic styles, design elements, and create a cohesive brand. Ways that you can accomplish this starts with first having a clear goal for your website and choosing the right theme. Some goals that have been discussed with Brian and the team were updating information regularly, continuing the newsletter and raising interactions, increasing email subscribers, driving more traffic from your audience to the website, and making your website more accessible. We will go into further detail later on in the presentation how to properly obtain these goals. So let's talk about theme. Choosing the right theme works to generate a positive perception that is aligned with the first and lasting impression you want to create with your target audience. Some examples of themes that are portrayed for Healthy Northland are active living, healthy eating, clinical connections, tobacco-free living, and health communities. To make sure a theme is being portrayed, you want to make sure that you're choosing a topic along with the tabs on your website that correlate to these themes in order to make sense to your target audience. Next, let's talk about colors and communication outlets. You want to pay attention to your colors. Color schemes are a critical aspect of web design, not just because they impact how the website looks, but also because the colors are capable of communicating subtle messages to visitors. Keeping the same color scheme is crucial throughout your entire brand on every social media platform. This shows professionalism as well as consistency within your style throughout all of your outlets. Next thing, let's talk about your site's layout. Mariah will be touching on this later in the video when she talks about displaying content, but we want to keep in mind that a picture, as we all know, is worth 1,000 words. This is certainly applicable to web design. When choosing the right layout, you want to keep in mind relevant pictures, icons, and quotes that'll match that headline. For example, when speaking about community engagement, use pictures that display community interactions. Lastly, have a cohesive content strategy. The material in both your Facebook posts, newsletters, and emails should all be related. If your on and off-site content don't align, readers will be confused. An example would be when you write an email about diabetes, making sure that you have relevant description on your website so that if an audience member were to click on a link given in that email, it will assist them in seeing the relevant content on the website. This slide here shows a great representation of branding materials. I have created this for you and it is available in the folder Brian has shared with us. If you would like to access this, please reach out to Brian. This is a great resource for those who may work with the communication platform of Healthy Northlands. Before moving on to understanding health literacy, I want to mention that branding is absolutely critical to a business because of the overall impact it makes on your company. Whether you have a set brand or not, or continue to update information, branding is crucial. And since times are always changing, evolving, and growing, it is really important that your brand does the same.
Another key component of effective communication is understanding health literacy. We will now be moving on to page 5 in the workbook. Health Literacy Online was developed by the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I use this source to gather all the information I will address. We've included the Health Literacy Online website in the resources section. So, health literacy is the ability for people to read and understand health information in order to make appropriate health decisions. Health literacy is very important, and knowing a little bit about users can help with understanding the importance. Users with limited literacy skills typically have more problems with short-term working memory, meaning they have a hard time remembering the information they read. Oftentimes, readers will skip words, sections, or start in the middle of paragraphs. On the other hand, some people have to read every single word because they don't feel they can effectively read by scanning and still gather the information they need or want. One more point about users is understanding literacy through numbers or numeracy. It can be helpful to your users if you simplify numbers into notations that are easy to understand. I will touch on some examples of this in just a minute. Secondly, it is good to have specific action steps listed on your website. When people visit websites, they are looking for answers and specific information. By telling the reader exactly what they should do and why they should be doing it, helps reduce the questions and confusions that can be associated with reading. Third, it should all be meaningful information. Users will often read the first couple of words of a paragraph to decide if they will be able to find what they are looking for and if it is worth their time to continue reading. Think of information that they need to know versus information that is just nice to know. Adding too much information that is just nice to know complicates the information. In cases like this, less is often more. Finally, simpleness is key. Your webpage should be simple and easy to navigate. If people can't easily conduct a search or make use of back buttons and next buttons, they will get tired of looking for their answers quickly. With that said, your website needs to look easy to read. If readers come across a page that is overwhelming and they are unable to navigate it, they will automatically lose interest in reading and using your page as a reference. Now, we are going to dive back into understanding numeracy and looking at a quick example. It is important to note that the numbers in this example are only for an example purpose and not real statistics. In 2018, 34.2 million Americans had diabetes. Nearly 1.6 million Americans have type 1 diabetes, including about 187,000 children and adolescents. These numbers are really hard to understand. It doesn't really give you a gauge on how many people are actually affected. It sounds like a lot of people because it's in the millions, but you don't have a number to compare it to for how many people don't have diabetes. So let's look at another example. This example reads, in 2018, 34.2 million Americans, or 10.5% of the population, had diabetes. Nearly 1.6 million Americans have type 1 diabetes, including about 187,000 children and adolescents. See how adding in the percentage can help a little bit? Yeah, 34.2 million sounds like a lot of people, but in reality, that's only about 10% of Americans. It gives you a little bit more of an idea with how many people we are actually talking about. So now that we looked at a couple examples, let's look at one more and identify the changes that should be made. The rates of diagnosed diabetes in adults by race and ethnic background remain. 40% of non-Hispanic whites are diagnosed with diabetes each month. 37.5% of Asian Americans are diagnosed with diabetes each year. 66.67% of American Indians, Alaskan Natives are diagnosed with diabetes. Take a second and think about if you can truly understand the numbers that are being talked about. So, while percentages are helpful, it's still hard to get a grasp on how many people we're really talking about. Now, let's look at this final example. The rates of diagnosed diabetes in adults by race, ethnic background remain. 40% of non-Hispanic whites are diagnosed with diabetes. That is 2 out of 5 adults each month. 3 out of 8 Asian Americans are diagnosed with diabetes each year. That is 37.5%. 66.67% of American Indians or Alaskan Natives are diagnosed with diabetes. This is equivalent to 4 out of 6 adults. Can you see how simplifying numbers into some number out of some number can be extremely helpful? 3 out of 8 gives you a lot better visual than 37.5% does. These tips are very important to remember when including numbers and statistics on your website. Now that we have gained a better understanding of health literacy and gone over a few examples, you can take this time to pause the video again to view the workbook. Take a look at the additional examples listed on the page in the workbook and see if you are able to answer the questions.
Now that we addressed how to write and communicate with taking health literacy skills of Healthy Northland's audience into consideration, we are going to switch gears towards how to display content for all audience members. As I'm going through the section of displaying content, you, Healthy Northland employees, can follow along on page 6 of the workbook to take notes and answer questions pertaining to the information that I will share. First off, here's what Healthy Northland's website looks like right now. This screenshot is an example of what Healthy Northland's audience sees above the fold. Users spend the most time looking at the content they see first to make sure the most important and compelling content appears above the fold. Having content above the fold means users can read the content without scrolling. Keep in mind that low literacy readers may have trouble with scrolling. You can see that they have a clear theme of breastfeeding, but it is sort of far away from the rest of the text. The image used is also taking up most of the room before the fold, which does not help clearly state to the readers what this page is all about. When you scroll down on the breastfeeding page for Healthy Northland, this is what you see. The amount of information on this screen can be very difficult and overwhelming for audience members who have limited literacy skills. It is also important to note that since this is a lot of information on this page, sections may be skipped over. Because of this, I've made suggestions and an example website which I will share. After addressing health literacy online, which is the same source Kelly spoke about above, I came up with 6 main suggestions that will help with displaying content for effective communication to Healthy Northland's audience. Health content written in plain language can still be overwhelming for audience members. Because of this, it is important to create clear standalone sections of text with headings. The heading should be as specific as possible, using keywords that can be helpful when users are trying to find information. Make sure that these sections are themed. Each section should only have one theme, as more than one theme can confuse your audience. Having one theme makes it clear and concise to your audience of what content is in the section and if it is for them. When needed, use subheadings to give clear direction as to what content is being shared underneath the specific theme. In these one-themed clear sections, we want to limit paragraphs by turning sentences into lists when possible. When making your text into lists, make sure that you do not have more than 7 items in a list. It is even suggested to use one-sentence paragraphs if you can. If you have dense walls of text, long sentences, long words, in paragraphs with more than 3 lines on one page, it can make the audience members frustrated that they cannot find what they're looking for. More suggestions include using at least 12-point font, as anything smaller will be hard to read. It could also be beneficial to add a resize option to the Healthy Northland website for audience members who may have trouble reading smaller fonts. I've added a resource for websites who use WordPress, which is what Healthy Northland's website is created through. This resource explains how to add a resizing option to your website. The resizing option will help your audience members with limited literacy skills and older adults. When considering font style, serif fonts may be more difficult for users to read. Serif fonts include fonts such as Times New Roman, as they have little feet on the alphabet letters. Instead of a serif font, websites should use a sans serif font. An example of a sans serif font would include Calibri, which is what Healthy Northland is already using on their website, and we also use for this presentation. Lastly, it is important to use images or graphics to enhance and explain the content on the page rather than as decoration. Also, look out for visuals that might actually diminish your content, such as busy, bright, or animated graphics, as they are distracting and are often mistaken for advertisements. When choosing images, users prefer photographs of real people rather than illustrations or people who look like models. It's also important to show people of diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. That way everyone can relate to your content. Under the picture, don't forget to add a short descriptive caption to explain the image. Here is an example website that I created based off the suggestions Health Literacy Online gave for creating an effective health website. When looking at this page, you can see the clear sections of text with the page header being breastfeeding. Each section of text underneath has subheaders to explain to Healthy Northland's audience the information that is to be expected, such as new or soon to be mother, COVID-19 and breastfeeding, and breastfeeding newsletters. Again, make sure that the most important information is before the fold. If you feel that COVID-19 and breastfeeding section is more important than the new or soon to be mother section, it should be placed before. This is true for all of your pages. You can clearly see that there is one theme for the page, breastfeeding, and one theme for each of the subsections. Again, make sure you, Healthy Northland, are using keywords in your themed sections to relay to your audience what information is there. Next, I used limited paragraphs with less than 3 lines of text. I also used bullet points when necessary. To break up the text and use whitespace, as Lauren pointed out earlier, I added buttons to your website layout as well. Buttons are a different way to display hyperlinks to Healthy Northland's website rather than just listing the related links. In the resources section on both the workbook and this PowerPoint, I have linked to the WordPress article, which explains how to add buttons on a WordPress website, which I know Healthy Northland uses. The button style I used for my example on this page looks like how they would actually look like on a WordPress website. Since this page is themed for breastfeeding, I used the health community color for my buttons. If you want to use this same style on Healthy Northland's website, I would suggest using the color for the section you are in, such as teal color for active living, for linking to trails in the Northland, and so on. After each of my buttons, I wrote about a 1-sentence snippet for Healthy Northland's audience members to identify what link they are clicking on. This is important so that Healthy Northland's audience does not get confused as to what they are linking to. On this example, I used 16-point font for all of my descriptive text, as well as larger point font for the headings and subheadings. As you can see, I added a resizing option in the top right corner by the heading for audience members to change the text size depending on their needs. Again, I added a resource in both the workbook and the end of this PowerPoint to an article about how to add a resizing option on a WordPress website. Just like Healthy Northland's website already, I used a sans serif font, Calibri. It is easy to read and looks very professional. For my example, I just added a space where you could put an image or graphic. This image could include a group prenatal care meeting in the Northland area or an image of a breast milk bank in the Northland. Make sure to have a short description under the photo or graphic to help explain it and give credit. Website buttons for hyperlinks is not the only way to link out to credible information. The Center of Disease Control's website, or better known as the CDC's website, has some useful tools which can help add diversity to Healthy Northland's website. First, I'm going to go through content syndication. This is a screenshot from the CDC website, which explains what content syndication is. This resource is free and provides credible health content for all of Healthy Northland's media platforms. Content syndication lets you provide content directly from the CDC website onto your own. It is a little different way to provide information rather than just a link. As you can see on the graphic in the middle of the page, content syndication would take the CDC's website and display it directly on your website as shown. One of the major benefits of syndication is that there is minimal maintenance, as when the CDC updates their content, the content on Healthy Northland's website will also update immediately, saving Healthy Northland employees valuable time. No more out-of-date information. Healthy Northland gets a choice as to what topics and quantities of CDC's content they want on the website when using content syndication. Content syndication allows Healthy Northland's audience members to be able to access CDC information without ever leaving Healthy Northland's website. When you scroll down on the CDC website for syndication, it explains exactly how to do this for your website. As you can see, it is a short 3-step process. First, register to syndication content in media. Second, discover high-quality, science-based content from the CDC website by searching keywords and topics or media types. Lastly, syndicate by clicking the Get Embedded Code tab and then copy and paste that code directly into your own website. If you Healthy Northland employees have any questions, there is a Get Help section, which is shown at the bottom of the screenshot, which provides great helpful tips. I, again, have this resource linked in both the PowerPoint and the workbook in the resource section. Next, buttons are a great way to display content on your page. As I showed in the Healthy Northland website example, this can be something as simple as a link that you created in a button on your own website. Or the CDC also has their own set of buttons and badges that can be integrated onto Healthy Northland's website. When you click on the link in the resources section for CDC buttons, it will bring you to this page. On this page, you can view a gallery of buttons and badges created for CDC events and campaigns. Some of the button categories include healthy living, environmental health, global health, and COVID-19 related buttons. All you have to do is copy and paste the code next to the badge to embed these buttons on Healthy Northland's website. These buttons or badges could be used in place of pictures on Healthy Northland's website as well. Lastly, the CDC has another available option for displaying their content on a different website, widgets. Again, this can be used in place of basic hyperlinks and even photos on Healthy Northland's website. Widgets, like buttons, have many different topic areas which are listed on their website, as you can see: disease and conditions, health, living, and so on the side panel. These again are direct links to CDC content and they automatically update. So all you have to do is embed the code to your website and you have no maintenance on your end. Here are 2 examples of widgets and how they should look on your page. All 3 of these options, content syndication, buttons, and widgets, are up-to-date, credible health and safety content from the Center of Disease Control. Now that I have finished addressing how to display content on a website, please feel free to pause this video and answer the first question on page 6 in your workbook. When displaying content, what is one way that you can improve your communication platform?
Next, we will move into the basics of organizing and simplifying a website to communicate effectively with people of varying backgrounds and health literacy levels. Feel free to follow along on page 7 of the workbook. Also, as mentioned earlier, a majority of this information is guided by one of our main sources, Health Literacy Online. Having an organized website is crucial in order for users to easily find information. To begin, an organized menu can lay the foundation for the entire website. When designing the menu bar, it's important to use common options so that people can easily find their desired information. A few common menu titles include Home, About Us, Get Involved, Calendar or Upcoming Events, and Resources. After the main menu options are decided on, it's critical to present the information logically within these categories so users do not have to question where information may be found. For example, the homepage should include your logo, a clear menu to navigate the website, a headline to communicate the purpose of your site, a call to action, photos, small amounts of text to connect you to your target audience, and a footer with relevant material such as contact information, key links, and social media platforms. Under the About Us section, users tend to look for your group's overview with a mission statement, who your staff or team members are, contact information, and the history of your group. Within the Get Involved section, users should be able to find job or volunteer opportunities or other relevant ways to contribute to the group. The Calendar and Upcoming Events section is pretty self-explanatory, but should include clear information regarding events that will happen in the future. Under the Resources section, information should be organized into clear categories so that users know exactly where their desired information is. For example, the Resources tab on Healthy Northland's current website could be reorganized. Right now, all users of the website, regardless of their purpose, have to sift through the entire list of resources. Furthermore, the pre-diabetes resource is listed as its own category on the menu bar. To make resources easier for people with different purposes to find, this Resource tab could be restructured with categories such as community resources, school resources, and business or worksite resources. Then, relevant subcategories can be added underneath. As shown in the example, community members looking for information for themselves could go to Resources, then Community Resources to find information relevant to them without having to sort through information that pertains only to schools or businesses. Another key component to creating an organized, user-friendly website is to label content clearly. This pertains to all elements of a website, such as the menu bar options, links, buttons, and more. When deciding on label names, it's important to use simple, common words so that users of varying backgrounds and health literacy levels can understand. Additionally, it's recommended that label names are specific. For example, replacing labels such as next, back, or click here with specific ones like what is prediabetes, or back to the homepage, or breastfeeding coalitions near you ensures that users will know exactly what they're clicking on. Although the examples shown here are buttons, the same guidelines apply when labeling links. When simplifying a website, a great place to start is with the homepage. Creating a simple homepage allows users to see an overview of the group or organization without becoming overwhelmed. One key way to simplify the homepage of a website is to limit the amount of text used. The homepage is a great place to briefly introduce basic information about the group and then link to additional information. Another way that the homepage can be simplified is through the use of white space. This is a great technique because it helps to avoid the cluttered look and allows the user to focus on the most important information. As you can see in this example of the homepage on Healthy Northland's current website, there's a lot of text. As a user, it's difficult to know what is most important to look at. Also, there's nothing that grabs the audience's attention to let them know what to do next. One more thing about the current homepage is that the image at the top takes up a lot of valuable space, but does not seem to convey an important message. Here is a simplified example of a homepage. This example includes a clear headline on top of the large image with a button where users can click to learn more about Healthy Northland. Also, the paragraph style text has been deleted. Instead, there are buttons to take users to different areas of the website. This simplified layout helps the homepage to look neat, organized, and easy to look at. It also allows the user to see a brief overview of the group or organization and helps guide their focus. One more way to create an organized and simple website is through the appropriate use of links and clickable elements. As mentioned before, it is critical to label buttons and links with specific, well-known words or phrases. Additionally, making each button or link large or contrasting helps to let the user know that it is clickable. For example, when looking at the sample homepage on the right, a user is able to tell that the Learn About Us button is clickable because it stands out from the background and is large. Buttons can also stand out by being certain colors or having shadows behind them. To make links stand out, they should be colored differently than the surrounding text and possibly even underlined. One more key consideration of links and clickable elements is that they need to be active and consistently updated. It can be frustrating for users when they click on a link that routes them to an inactive page. In addition to the frustration of the user, it can reduce the credibility of the site. Although links and buttons are great tools to use on a website, it's important to not go overboard with them. They should be used only when needed for the user to obtain additional information. Also, they should be incorporated into the text or relevant areas of the website, rather than just in a list of links. Before we move on to the next section on engaging users, take a moment to pause the video, turn to page 7 of the workbook, and answer the following 2 questions. First, what is one way that you can improve the organization of your website? The other question is, what is one way that you can make your website easier to navigate? Like I mentioned, take a moment to pause the video and record your answers before we move into Cassie's section on engaging users.
After all of this, it is important to engage your users, as this will both keep your audience coming back and to extend your audience further. In the workbook provided along with the video, you can see page 6 to follow along and write notes as needed. Whenever possible, choose multimedia formats that support your content, such as video, audio, graphics, and interactivity to engage your users. Some examples of these multimedia options could include videos of Healthy Northland community members talking about their experience with community gardens or biking trails. If you are adding a video to Healthy Northland's website, it is important to make sure that there is either closed captions or a transcript of the content so that it is accessible to all users. A great example is already on Healthy Northland's website, their interactive app, Map. As long as this resource stays up to date, it is a great way to show spatial information. To engage more users, consider social media sharing options. 3 out of 4 online adults use social media platforms, so providing them with the opportunity to share the information they found on Healthy Northland's website to other social media can be beneficial to reaching more of Healthy Northland's target audience. It is great that Healthy Northland has their Facebook connected to their website already. When addressing sharing options, this could also be addressed in using other social media platforms, such as Healthy Northland's Facebook page and email newsletter, to share valuable information through resharing or forwarding. This can be a beneficial way to get information out to Healthy Northland's audience efficiently and effectively. Now, please feel free to stop this video to answer question 2 on page 6. How can you improve the possibility of online sharing on your communication platform?
The final thing we want to talk about is tying in other communication platforms, such as Facebook and email, like Cassie mentioned. Moving along in the workbook as well, we are now on page 8. Healthy Northland utilizes a Facebook page, which is an awesome way to connect with people. Cohesion is very important when it comes to utilizing multiple social media platforms. You want to make sure that your branding, as Lauren touched on earlier, is the same on all platforms, meaning your Facebook page should have your logo and utilize your colors as much as possible. This will help keep a clean, professional look no matter where people are viewing your information. Secondly, when it comes to social media, a posting schedule can be extremely helpful. This means having scheduled days and times that you are going to post so that it gets done regularly to keep viewers coming back for more. These 6 tips can help make a useful posting schedule. Number 1, create monthly goals. This would be goals like how many times you want to post or how many people you want to try and reach. Number 2, determine what you will share. It is good to have an idea of the information you want to address. Are there certain health issues you want to talk about? Updates about Healthy Northland? It can be whatever you want, but it's good to get ideas ahead of time. Number 3, create the calendar template. A good way for everyone to stay organized is to have a calendar that shows what days you are posting. Number 4, now it's time to add the content that you came up with to the calendar. Again, this helps everyone know what topics will be discussed when. Number 5, gather and create content. Now this is the fun part. Actually making the post ahead of time and gathering any information you want to add to the post can alleviate stress of cramming to get it done. Number 6, finally, you get to track the posts and promotions. Here you can look back and see how many people are liking posts or sharing them and which ones may be hot topics and be getting more attention than others to help dictate next month's posts. And lastly, make sure all your links are active links. If you are posting links to resources that you want your viewers to utilize, make sure they work and take them to the place you are hoping. Remembering what Mariah talked about earlier, you can even try naming the links. This will provide an easy transition from your Facebook page to additional information for any users. Here we have provided an example of what cohesion may look like when you continue to a different platform. This example is going from Healthy Northland's website to their Facebook page. So here you notice that the header is the same picture as Healthy Northland's first picture that is seen on their website, along with the 5 main topics that are highlighted throughout the website and the logo cropped into a circle so it can fit in the given profile picture. This is a great representation of how cohesion can be implemented into different social media platforms.
Another communication platform that Healthy Northland utilizes is email to send out newsletters. Emails are a great tool to utilize as they are 100% controlled by the consumer. 99% of people check their email at least one time a day, while 50% of people check their email up to 10 times a day. Not going to lie, I'm guilty of that. When it comes to emails, it is pretty similar to what I spoke about earlier for displaying content. As Healthy Northland continues to utilize email, they should keep one topic per email or newsletter. Having more than one topic can be confusing to Healthy Northland's audience members, and key information may be skipped over as they try to scan all that is in the newsletter. If Healthy Northland has many different topics they want to include in their email newsletter, it would be beneficial to send out multiple different emails. Just like in the website on other platforms, such as newsletters or emails, it is important to have short paragraphs and use lists when possible. Short paragraphs help Healthy Northland keep the information being provided clear and concise, while numbered and bulleted lists help audience members organize the information rather than getting confused reading long paragraphs of text. Another suggestion includes making sure to use 3 you sentences for every 1 I sentence. This helps the audience members who are reading Healthy Northland's newsletters or emails to see how the information is for them. People like hearing about what is benefiting them and their community rather than other topics. This strategy might not work for all email types, but would be good to use when asking the audience members to participate in events in the Northland. Next, it is important to note that the engagement from Healthy Northland's audience members when the newsletters are being sent out. When doing some research, email open rate numbers do not seem super reliable, as when people open them on both their phones and computer, it may say the newsletter has 2 openings from this. Also, depending on downloadable images or graphics, this may say that people have not read the email if those downloadable pieces were not able to officially download, or if the audience member has a pop-up block, these images might not be able to download as well. Because of this, it is important to add a clickable call to action on Healthy Northland's newsletter emails. Make the call to action obvious so the audience members know what is expected of them. An example of this could include having a clickable link labeled Click to subscribe to more information on open community garden lots near you, or sign up to receive updates for juniper classes in your community. These call to actions can be a hyperlink, or you could even look up ways to display some sort of button in your newsletter emails, which can be more visually appealing. Whatever you decide to do, make sure it is cohesive with the newsletters to follow so Healthy Northland's audience members know what is expected of them. These clickable call to actions can help Healthy Northland know what information their audience members are interested in and maybe what should be more focused on. Here's an example email for Healthy Northland in a classic email platform that addresses the 4 suggestions I gave for newsletters or emails. Each of the words in blue show where I have added the suggestions I spoke about. In the subject line of this example email, the topic is trauma-sensitive yoga. This is a clear one-topic email so that audience members know what information is to be expected in the email. At the beginning of the email, an optional graphic was added. It is important to know if you are adding an image that is helpful for your audience members rather than hinders them and adds no benefit. Use your best judgment depending on the information provided. In yellow, there's a clear call to action labeled "Come visit us on our Facebook page." You can make this a button through a Gmail extension to match your website style. When writing content for this topic, trauma-sensitive yoga, there is no usage of I sentences. This shows the audience members the email is focused on them. Again, just like in the website examples, I used short paragraphs for easier readability. Here is a continuation of the same email. Here you can see the usage of lists to make the information easier to read for all audience members, as well as another option for a clickable call to action. This call to action is focused on clicking to see the attached newsletters for Healthy Northland. Again, there is a Chrome extension that can be added to your email so that you can make these clickable calls to actions into buttons. If this is an option for Healthy Northland, make sure your colors and typography are cohesive with your website. Also, I would recommend only having one call to action per email. For this example, we added 2 so that you can visualize options for calls to action. Lastly, we created an example signature for Healthy Northland so that audience members are able to easily find and link to contact information. Please feel free to stop the video at this time to answer the question on page 8 of the workbook and any of the questions in the guided workbook that you have not had time to finish filling out.
Now that we are almost to the end of the presentation, let's take a moment to reflect on the learning objectives that were stated at the beginning. From all of the content covered today, you should now know the definition of health communication, 3 considerations for effective communication, the importance of branding in public health, the significance of health literacy in communication, 2 ways in which multiple communication platforms can be harmonized, and at least 1 way that the information learned today can be applied to your own work.
This brings us to the end of the pre-recorded presentation. We have uploaded resources that your community health board is free to utilize in the workbook. If you have any questions, are unable to access the resources, or concerns, please feel free to contact Brian or us with the emails we have provided in the beginning of the semester, and we can assist you with this. Once again, the last 2 pages of the workbook are resources that we have used in this presentation, as well as tailored for you to update your website and other communication platforms. To utilize the resources pages, hover over the circles with your cursor, and a description should pop up. Then click on the circles, and it'll bring you to the proper website where you can learn exactly what the description tells you. Mariah, Cassie, Kelly, and I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to listen, and we hope that your community health board can take away what you have learned and apply them into your own communication outlets. Also, we please ask that you fill out our evaluation linked in the email. This is so that our group can continue to learn, influence future actions, and teaching methods that we take part in our upcoming careers. Thank you all so much for a great semester, and we hope that you all have a great rest of your day.